Well, I can only assume it's because either it hasn't worked or B, potentially the levels of radiation are too dangerous to be in the air right next to those nuclear power stations. It may well be the first, because earlier on we had a news conference from the Chief Cabinet Secretary, the senior government spokesman, Yukio Edano, and he was talking about this potential plan to use helicopters and douse these areas of the plant from above. And he said that this might not work. Simply throwing water at a nuclear reactor and at spent fuel rods, it's a very imprecise way of trying to deal with this problem. But the fact is they had to try anyway, because the situation has deteriorated to the point where they're doing anything that they can. Earlier on Wednesday, we saw reports of a restarted fire at reactor number 4. That's where the water surrounding spent nuclear fuel had heated up drastically after an explosion on Tuesday, and potentially exposing those nuclear fuel rods to the atmosphere. That's when we saw that spike in radiation on Tuesday. Another spike in radiation on Wednesday, a big plume erupting above reactor number 3, and workers, as you say, were evacuated to a protective shelter for a while, and they had to give up entirely on the cooling work that they were doing for a good period of time. We understand they have now returned to work, but this other tactic appears to have failed for now.
A great deal of concern, of course, about this crisis, but there is also another crisis, and a lot of focus has been on the nuclear crisis, but there is also the humanitarian issue, Harry. Rescuing people, of course, after a tsunami is extremely difficult. Tell us about how the search and rescue efforts are progressing.
Well, there have been 1 or 2 isolated incidents of rescue. On Tuesday, a 70-year-old woman was plucked from the rubble after spending 3 days or more, 4 days since the tsunami. But these are very, very rare events. The chief amount of work that the large amount of work that these emergency workers are doing is simply recovering bodies, and as well as that, trying to look after those who've been displaced. We understand some 450,000 people are in emergency shelters. Many more will be staying with relatives, and there are problems with fuel, there are problems with food, problems with water. Some people boiling the snow which has fallen in the northeast of Japan overnight Tuesday and on Wednesday morning, because obviously they are running out of water. What we have had in the last few minutes is a televised address from the Emperor of Japan, Emperor Akihito. This is a rare event, and it really just goes to show, if there needed to be any more signifiers of how serious all this has been, this is another one. And he said that he was deeply worried by the unprecedented scale of all of these events. And especially, he said, or at least additionally, he said, the unpredictable nature of the nuclear power plant problems. And he said, I hope from the bottom of my heart that the people will hand in hand treat each other with compassion and overcome these difficult times.
So the Emperor of Japan there are making a call to his people, I guess, for calm then. Harry, since this earthquake, it seems that the situation is just getting difficult for the people every day. And we've been hearing reports of foreigners, in fact, being told to leave Tokyo because of the fears of radiation. Is there a sense of panic among the people there?
It's difficult to say there's a sense of panic throughout Japan. Certainly there has been isolated panic. There has been panic buying, for instance, in Tokyo. We've seen obvious concerns up here in northern Japan. We've seen throughout our time here very long lines for petrol, but people have largely been going through these difficult periods and these privations with incredible grace and good humor and looking out for one another. In terms of the evacuations, there are some locals, Japanese people who are trying to get out of the country. We've heard some instances of that. We met a family from Sendai who'd come up here and they were going to fly to Osaka to relatives down there. The French government has suggested that people should at the very least get out of Tokyo and go to Osaka. We also understand that they are contacting Air France to put on standby planes to evacuate French people from Japan. The United States government, by contrast, is saying that its citizens should, if they wish to, stay in Japan, but follow the advice of the government.